And this is such an interesting fact, just to let you know Dan's heritage and how blessed we are to have him here today. The Old Testament prophet Samuel, that goes back, thousands of years, way back, created this school for the prophets to further teachings of Melchizedek. And it was a cornerstone of wisdom, ancient wisdom for centuries. And in 1986, Dan reestablished the ancient order of Melchizedek, an unconditional love response to world service. And they've now ordained about 17,000 people throughout the world. And Dan, if I'm not mistaken, you have been ordaining people here at the church through that entire time, at least.
Practically, yeah.
Yeah, just almost every
Over
year
30
since
years,
then. So
yeah.
that is a lot of years of tremendous service. Yeah, and Dan yeah, the angels were clapping, I guess. Yeah, well done. Whoever that was, thank you. That was awesome. Perfect timing. We appreciate it very much. Dan combined sensitive, intuitive abilities with a ministerial background, psychological training, metaphysical knowledge, and a wonderful sense of humor to teach, guide, and enhance the lives of those he encounters. And he encourages others to self-love, self-confidence, balance in the pursuit of their higher self. And just how much I have met thus far of Dan, I see you as just a warm and genuine, and yet really a spiritual master for the ages and for our time. And so we are very, very blessed to have you here today to lead us with your message. So please, a warm applause and welcome to Reverend Dan Chesboro.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I've been coming here a long time. I'll be 81 in another month. That tells you how long I've been coming here. Is this on, Gary? Oh, good. Okay. Okay. The last time I was here, last year, I had this really odd experience in my mind. I don't know what you call it, brain fog or whatever, but I finished my time, 40 minutes, whatever it was, and I had this odd sensation that I didn't know what I had said. I mean, I didn't have a blank on that, but I didn't have any coherence to it, you know? So I told Jim, I said, I am so sorry for how I presented myself. I said, next year that will not happen. So I have notes today. So you get subject to that. But I asked Spirit what it is that I should share with you, and I was very specifically given information that I'm very delighted to hand out to you today. Please don't choose to hear any of this as gloom and doom, because it really isn't. There can't be gloom and doom when there's only God. So it's all about changes that are happening, and more changes than we've probably ever experienced in this lifetime. We're about to go through, you know. This period is called the Great Transformation. So that means there's a great deal that's going to happen to Mother Earth, to Gaia, and her growth, her tectonic plate movements, et cetera, et cetera. All kinds of changes coming in. I wanted to ask you all a question. Have any of you in the last maybe 6 months or so had bouts with vertigo? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Dizziness. A little bit of nausea sometimes. A pain that comes right here. It's not a headache, but it's just a bing, you know, kind of thing. Yeah. Well, I was at my chiropractor when that first bout hit me, and I was sitting in a pew, like we used to have here ages ago, waiting for my chance to go up and get a table, which was hopefully right in front of me, because when the dizziness came, I was so dizzy, I didn't think I could walk across the room to a table, you know? And they said, well, you can sit in number 3. I said, oh, thank God, because that was right there. I just had to get myself over there. The doctor came, and he said, well, how are things going? I said, well, on the physical level, I'm really doing pretty well, but on the other part, I'm kind of, you know, I'm very dizzy. And I could tell You know when people don't want to hear what you have to say? They kind of pull back, like their eyes glaze over or something. Well, he did one of those, and I thought, well, that doesn't matter because he doesn't understand. If it's not connected to the brain of the columns, I don't get it. So anyway, I had that experience, and they did my adjustments, and then I had the rest. And we were driving home to my farm, which is about a half an hour away, and something said, call your friend Adrian. She lives in Ottawa with her companion, Sandy. And so we called her from the car. And I said, do you have a chance to talk? She said, no, I can't right now. I'm in a banjo lesson. But call Sandy because she's home and we can chat, So I called Sandy and I told her what I was going through. And so she said, yeah, Adrian's been going through that for months. And I thought, wow. What I enjoyed about knowing that was that there wasn't anything wrong with me, that whatever I was going through, she had been going through already. Well, it gets more interesting. So finally, I got to talk to Adrian later that day. My event happened at 11:40, and so did hers. The dizziness and all that will last about half an hour, something like that. Or you couldn't time it. It was nothing you ate. It was nothing you didn't have enough sleep. It was just, well, since then, it's happened several times. In fact, on the way over here from New York on the plane, nothing bad. It hasn't been like it was the first time. But what I'm learning is there are solar flares, as you all know, from the sun, and the waves are coming through. And these are waves of unconditional love, believe it or not. Because back in 1978, I was in Louisville, Kentucky, Louisville. And I wasn't afraid, but I was in this bedroom and something told me to salt the room. And I don't do things like that. Well, I don't know where the salt came from. I must have had some because I did it, and I salted all around the room. And I sat in the middle of the room and I just thought, well, now I'm safe. But I didn't know what was going on. So I got home from that and I called a friend of mine. His name is Tom Sawyer, but not Mark Twain's character. And I said, what's going on? He said, well, there was a council meeting and they were trying to decide, should we burn them out or love them out? And they decided to love us out. So what we're going through is mega doses of unconditional love that are just wafting through us, the whole universe actually, but it's giving us a chance to grow. But you have to make an opportunity for a decision. And the decision is to go to your higher self or your more positive self, love yourself more unconditionally as you can, or not. And there's neither right nor wrong, but it'll be easier if you choose love over not love. And so this process right now is going globally, and what it's doing is it's as if we had one planet, but splitting in two. It physically will not separate, but here's the area of all the positive people, and here's the area of everyone else. And there's nothing wrong with either side. It's just one or the other. So we're as if we're living in the same town, but with a whole bunch of neighbors that we don't know. And they don't want to know us, and we're too busy to get in touch with them, whatever. So I had a talk on, what is that thing called? Zoom call. God, if you told me when I was a kid we would have all this, I would have thought you were crazy, So anyway, and I asked the people who tuned into the Zoom call, are you having this vertigo? What's going on? And most of them said, yeah, I'm going through this. So what's kind of nice about knowing that it's just a very positive, loving thing is that it is a very positive, loving thing. Now, I'm going to go to my notes because I don't want to just blab through my whole time here, which I've been known to do, unfortunately. Gary, is the purple light where? Over there?
What's that?
The purple light, I'm supposed to see a purple light, and that tells me to shut up. Okay, whatever. It's all right. So let me get my notes because I have a lot I really want to share with you, and I don't want to miss anything. And you know me, I don't usually have notes. I just stand up and it kind of runs along, Anyway, I had to share with you this because Spirit encouraged me to do so, and certainly isn't anything that I wasn't aware of. But anyhow, about a year ago, Spirit guided me to send my books. There were 3 of them that Jim and I wrote together. The first one was the Order of Melchizedek. The second one was the Gospel of Thomas. And the third one was about Tom Sawyer, a modern-day messenger from God. Now, the information is quite different in each of them, but they all go together. So Jim called them a trilogy. I thought, oh, that's clever. So Spirit was guiding me to send 3 of these in a box to 4 different people. So I thought, fine, So Sandy and Adrian from Ottawa were visiting with us, and they helped to print the labels and look up addresses and all that, because, who knows the addresses of the Dalai Lama, for example. So anyway, these are the 4 people that I sent 4 boxes to, 1 box to each of the 4 people. Okay, 1 went to Pope Francis, 1 went to President Biden, 1 went to Oprah Winfrey, and 1 went to the Dalai Lama. So it was really kind of fun to go to the post office, which is a very rural community, and say to the postmistress, well, when was the last time you sent a package to the Dalai Lama? Yeah, like that happens all the time. So anyway, I want to go now through the various people that responded and tell you, in a sense, what is framed in their domain. I can understand that part, I'm sure you can. The very first one who responded was Pope Francis. Yeah, almost like within a couple of weeks, and it was not just, oh, thank you very much, and da-da-da-da-da, and I've kept it. I should have read it before I came to see you all, because I could have shared it with you. But he was the first response I had. And I had thought, well, it doesn't really matter whether any of them respond. My job was to get that out. It's like, you're a farmer, you're planting seeds. And whatever happens, happens, So these were seeds that were being thrown. And what Tom Sawyer used to say to me is, the book finds the reader. So you're out looking for something interesting, all of a sudden this appeals to you, what falls off the shelf happened to me. And there you go. So the book finds the reader. So I thought to myself, okay, the trilogy is being sent to all these people who represent different domains and whatever. And whether they read the material or not is irrelevant. It will be there. And what Spirit said to me was, the books had to be written, and now the material is here perpetually. Your job is done. At least that part of my job. So I want to share with you some of the ideas that wrapped around the various people who received them. The first one is Pope Francis. The second person who responded a little bit later than that was President Biden. And of course, it was a more formal letter, which didn't have to be sent as far as I'm concerned, but it came from them as a little political pitch, the whole thing. But that was good. I never heard from Oprah or the Dalai Lama. And I thought, well, fine. They've got their own domain or life, and they've got things to do. As I go on, you'll see how it unfolded, because it's really rather interesting. I think it is anyway. Okay. Pope Francis. What came under his domain was this whole element of near-death experiencers. On YouTube, I'm sure you're all familiar with this, you can go daily and expose yourself to stories of people who've had near-death experience. All kinds of people, all backgrounds. They all tell the same story. Those who've come back from it say it's all love. It's just love and service. So when I got into some of the stories, I think one of the most interesting ones was a woman who'd had a near-death experience. And, they vary according to religions and backgrounds and all that kind of thing. Because the plan, you see, was that we would have millions of people around the world have a near-death experience. And then they would come back from having died or nearly died to let the rest of us know what's going to happen or what's happening. So all of these stories are almost identical in terms of the end result of their life experiences or their death experiences. Really kind of interesting. This one woman, one of the processes that you go through is a life review. So everything that you experience from the time your creation occurred with your mom and your dad or whatever the situation was, until you passed in this lifetime, which we call graduation, because there is no death, you know. So this woman had all of her things, and then she had the life review. It's sort of like, you know, you go into the theater, and here's your life story. But it's everything from birth to your most recent death, and it's all kinds of information. And you get it on the multidimensional levels, because you not only get to see everything that you did as you would remember it, you know, but you also get to take it from anybody that you were involved in, even if it was a short second. But you know what they were thinking or what they were choosing to feel, you know, so you understand your impact, you know. So it goes on from this one woman. In her lifetime, she had acquired accolades and awards and all that, and she thought, well, surely this is probably good for my record, you know. But they showed her an incident at a grocery store. And at the grocery store, she was standing in line. She was waiting to go to the checkout. The woman in front of her had all this food set out already, and they had added it all up, and they gave her, you know, how much it was going to be, and she's going through her purse and fumbling. She didn't have the money. And she said to the cashier, she said, well, take that back. I don't really need that. Well, take that back. Well, the woman who had the death experience, who was remembering this from her life review, said, I had a time in my life that I had to go through that. So she said to the cashier, I will pay for her food, put everything back. Well, that's what she saw in the life review. In addition to that, she saw how that act of kindness changed that woman's life. And then she got to see what that woman did in the rest of her life to give to others or to be open to love and all that. So I thought, you know, I just ever wanted to cry. I mean, it's just amazing. You do a simple thing like open a door for somebody. Well, in your life review, you see that happening again, that's you doing that, but now you are also the person that you opened the door for and what that meant to them. You know, my partner found out that elderly people sometimes don't get to talk to anybody for a month. And so if you open the door and they start chattering away, it's because you're the first person they've had to talk to in a month, you know. But you get to see the impact of what that did for them, et cetera, et cetera. When I was about 12 or 13, I can't remember now exactly, but I had an interest, let me put it that way, in this girl named Marion. And Marion had a sister who was a little short blonde gal. And I can swim like an eel. I made myself learn how to swim. So we're at this sand pit. It had been a gravel pit, then it got filled with water, so it probably had holes in it, and it was deep, and there was a raft out there. Now, I think her name was Sharon. She wanted to go out to the raft. Now, I knew that I could carry her on my back to the raft and swim there, and then she could enjoy the raft. Well, we left the shore, and Sharon was on my back, and then I fell into a hole. And Sharon panicked, and she thought she was going to drown, and, you know, she didn't want that to happen. So she was climbing on me and pushing me down, and now I'm not able to breathe, and the water's coming in. And I knew nothing about spiritual matters like this in those days. I looked up, and in the sky, there was light that was coming toward me like this, and I thought, uh-oh. Well, fortunately for me and for Sharon, there was a man on the beach who thought we were playing. He thought, look at those kids playing in the water. You know how we were as children. So then he realized, no, they're in trouble. So he ran into the water to take her off my back so that we wouldn't drown. And I laid on the beach panting and breathing, and I looked back, and now she's drowning him. So I had to go back in the water and get her off of him, you know. So for some reason, I thought about this the other day. And then I realized, okay, when that man has his life review, he will be again at the beach. He'll be watching these two kids playing in the water and drowning, and he will see himself running into the water. But then he will realize, and this is not to blow my horn, okay, but he will realize that because he saved me and I didn't drown, the rest of my life, which Don shared with you. Otherwise, that was it. So you have no idea what simple kindness will do and how it will play out When you have a random act of kindness or a conscious prayer for somebody, you see them hobbling down the street, whatever, but that has an energy, that has an eternal existence to it, and that when you have your life review, there is no sin, there is no evil, there is no hell, there's only love, there's only God, there's only good. But you get to seal that in the light of your life review and also what happened to other people. We're all connected. As humans, you know that through DNA and all that, but we're also connected to the tree people. You know the big pine tree that's out in front of the church? I was here the day they planted that. And now that thing is, what, 70 feet tall or whatever it is, you know? I looked at it today in the other room, and I thought, I remember when that little thing was planted. For God's sake, that's wild, you know. But anyway, that's one of the parts that came under the Pope Francis section here. Let me see what else we've got. Okay. Yeah, no judgment. There is no judgment. No matter what you've done in your life, you are only going to be loved by God. Why? Because you're literally made of God. You're made of perfection. We all see it one of the, gee, nobody's perfect. Well, maybe from a point of view, but in greater reality, everyone is perfect. Why? Because you're made of God and God is perfect. So if you believe you're not perfect, that's only an idea that you hold in your mind. But the greater reality is God loves you unconditionally. It doesn't matter whether you have accolades or whatever. It's just an experience that you have, you know, coming into this lifetime. And you have the ability to love yourself as God does if you choose to. Probably, in terms of the critters who are here with us, a dog would be the closest to unconditional love that you're going to get from a critter. Although that's not true either. I watched a rhinoceros and a kitten playing with each other the other day on YouTube. You know, I love those things. Anyway, let's take on another trilogy package. Okay, the next one came from a note from President Biden. Now, I sent that to him because at that time I figured, well, he might have to deal with some of the great transformation situations that are about to happen still. And whether he knew it or not, what kinds of things would befall him that he would have to take care of or remedy or whatever. You know, that depends on anybody who's in the Oval Office. But the earth changes are coming. They're here already. My God, you all know what Minnesota was like for years with deep snow and all that. And we were talking, a guy was pushing me in a wheelchair the other day, his name is Michael, and we got talking about the weather. And he said, yeah, he said, a couple of winters ago, I was in shorts walking around, and we didn't get that much snow. Well, my God, the last time we got snow in upstate New York was back in before 2000, 42 inches of snow one weekend. I had to work in Carnegie Hall. I had the opportunity, and I thought, I'm going there if I have to walk, because I want to brag about this. When we came home, there was so much snow, we had to hire a plow to get to our house. Since then, the last 2 winters, we haven't even needed to plow the driveway. And the weather's changing. This May was the wettest month in May we've had in 25 years. It's a lot of rain, you know. One of the things Tom Sawyer said to me is the days are coming when the deserts will blossom and the places that are green will become desert. Now, in our part of upstate New York, we used to be tropical. There were mastodons that walked around up there. There were palm trees. Of course, now there's, you know, what you all have here. So things change, but we just don't live that long to go through all the changes and recognize, you know, what's been happening. We have a major volcano called Mount Rainier. It's the largest volcano or mountain in the United States, I believe. That's getting ready to blow. And that'll be something to deal with. It's been having a little earthquake activity here and there. And they were suspecting that when Mount Rainier went, that a lot of things would have to change. Recently, they had to shut down part of the Yellowstone Park because that's rumbling. There's a caldera there that if that goes, we're all going to have an interesting trip home. Maybe. I don't know. Don't hear gloom and doom. This is nature. This is balance. This is harmony. You know, we have an underground volcano off of Washington State on the west coast. There's another one off of Japan. Those are rumbling. The Ring of Fire is rumbling. The islands are moving slowly in the opposite direction. Africa has a big crack down the side of it where eventually it will split and there'll be more water there. There'll be like another continent. So these are parts of the earth changes. The oceans are rising. My hometown beach, the mayor said, I don't know how much longer we can keep this beach. We were in, where were we recently? Myrtle Beach, that's right. I'm looking out the window. I'd never been there before. And you can see this beach goes like for miles, you know. And I thought, I don't know why I'm thinking this, but I think this beach isn't as wide as it used to be. And I mentioned it to a friend of ours who was traveling with us, and on the last day we were there, she said, yeah, you're right, it's not, it's much narrower. So the oceans have already come up about a foot, and what Tom Sawyer learned when he went down to New York City to be on the Good Morning America show, after the show he was walking through Manhattan, and he said, Dan, there were water marks about 30 or 40 feet from the road. I don't remember when there was a flood in New York City. He says, oh my God, it's a probable future. Well, on another program, I saw a scientist who was saying, hey, don't worry, it's only going to be about a foot. Well, if you're in New York City, that's a lot of water. They're right on the waterline. But he came back a year later and he said, I owe you all an apology. It'll be 30 to 40 feet, which is exactly what Tom Sawyer had said. So that's within most likely our lifetime. You know, now I'm planning to come right back. I don't know where you're all going after we leave here, but I've got work to do, and this part of work is going to require a couple of more lifetimes, I think. You know, so that's part of my journey. But I wanted President Biden to just be aware, when the oceans rise, every country that has a shoreline is going to be inundated. There'll be mass migrations. And within the priesthood, we're here to serve the human condition. So we may have a great opportunity to help in housing people, feeding people. I mean, I don't know. But we certainly do have some great transformations going on, you know, which is really... And I thought, well, perhaps if he reads this material, or somebody reads it to him, or gives him a report or whatever, he'll know more. Well, when I got to see Jim Erickson recently, he had gotten interested in earth changes and contacted some of his old friends who were still in the Navy or whatever. With all their research, and said, oh yeah, it's here already. The oceans are coming up. There was an iceberg that broke off from the South Pole. It's 39 miles long and 1,000 feet deep. Fresh water that produces methane gas when it melts. That doesn't go too well with our atmosphere at the time. So anyway, that's another possibility for some really great transformative changes. So that's what we have to look forward to. Anyhow, whoops, excuse me, sorry, Gary. All right. Okay, let's pick another one. Oh, this one was fun. Now, I did not hear from Oprah Winfrey, which was neither here nor there. But we were going to Gettysburg for, I was doing a class of ordinations and lectures, whatever. And so quite often we listen to audio tapes, you know, on the radio thing or whatever we do. Podcasts. That's what they're called. I've got to get with this new generation. So on the podcast was one of Oprah Winfrey's first events. You know, and I remember Tom Sawyer had met her after his death experience, and he said to me, one of the best hugs that I ever got was from Oprah Winfrey when she was big. So I'm listening to that, and I'm aware that she had not responded to the trilogy, and I thought, it doesn't matter, you know. Anyway, she starts her podcast with Dr. Grayson, whatever his first name is, Bruce Grayson. Now, Tom Sawyer used to talk about Bruce Grayson all the time. You know, that was many, many years ago. So here's Oprah with Dr. Grayson on her show, on her podcast. And she's talking about near-death experiences. And she remembered when Tom Sawyer had been on her show. And she said, and it moved me to tears, she said, that man changed my life. Right. That's like, oh my God, you know. So I didn't need to get a response from her. I got it. You know, and then there was a whole hour of, now if you go to our website, danielchesboro.com, We have transcribed or transferred, or what do you call that, the Oprah podcast. So you can see that. And within that podcast is a segment about Tom Sawyer, and it's pristine. I mean, it's very clear. You can see him and hear him. And so if you've not had that experience, it's kind of a joy to have. Oh, yes. Do you remember the actor Robert Stack? Some of you are old enough to remember that. He used to have a show on TV called Unsolved Mysteries. Some of you might see the reruns. Well, many, many years ago, because Tom had his death experience in the 80s, Robert Stack's team came and interviewed Tom Sawyer. So he talked about what happened when the truck fell on him, how he died, then he came back from the dead and all that kind of stuff. So I had an opportunity to teach in Spain. And so I was getting ready to go over there and do lectures and ordinations and all that. And I thought, well, the first part of the day I'm going to be talking about Tom Sawyer and what he did and how he impacts, people and all that sort of thing. Well, you know how it is. The plane landed, I went to teach a class the next day, and I said, I'm going to talk to you today a little bit about a friend of mine by the name of Tom Sawyer. They all said, yeah, we saw that last night on TV. Now, there are no accidents. It saved me about half an hour, of my time. But that's how it goes. So when we get a copy of Robert Stack's interview with Tom Sawyer, we'll put that on our website as well. So you can go there and enjoy that experience. The last one to receive one of the trilogy packages was the Dalai Lama. Now, I was kind of hoping I would have heard from him, and I still may, it doesn't matter. But Tom Sawyer has spent 2 times in his life, in this lifetime, preventing an assassination attempt on the Dalai Lama's life. And that's accounted in my 3rd book about Tom Sawyer. And I sent him the book because I thought he was probably not aware that this character by the name of Tom Sawyer had actually saved his life at least twice. The Chinese tried to kill him and knock him off right and left, and obviously they haven't. He's, 78, 79 now. He can't travel any longer because he's gotten older, and so it's harder for him to get around, but he's still teaching. People from Harvard, yay, come and visit with him, and he sits down and lectures with them. It's a wonderful thing. However, under the Dalai Lama, I wanted to talk a little bit about reincarnation. Several years ago, I ordained a woman on St. Patrick's Day, and she happened to be Irish. And after her ordination, she met a spirit guide. And he had been a biker when he was still alive here. And he was teaching her how to do readings, So she called up one day, she said, pardon my French, or it's not French, it's bad language. She said, is all this reincarnation shit true? I said, yeah. She said, oh my God, because she was just getting into stuff she'd never known before. And it just kind of blew her mind. But anyway, the thing about reincarnation is this. Tom said to me at one point, he said, do you know, Dan, the entire universe, when I say that, I mean all the stuff that's out there, because there are universes and universes forever and ever. The whole shebang is constantly being born and dying and being reborn. And guess what? We're a part of that. Some of you may have past life recall, you may have dreams that teach you where you've been in another incarnation or whatever. It doesn't matter. What he said to me was, this is the lifetime that matters. This is the one, it's the culmination of every lifetime you've ever had for millions of years possibly. Every free will choice that you made has led you here. You're sitting in yourself right now. And this is the end result of all the decisions that you made that got you to choose your race, your astrological sign, all kinds of interesting things. There were no accidents, So I was watching a show on YouTube probably, and it was about the latest discoveries in physics and the universe and whatever. And what they said was, there's an infinite amount of universes, which is what Tom had taught me recently. He still comes to me in my dreams and teaches me. But then the show went on to say, the entire shebang, the entire universe, or universes, whatever it is constantly dying and being reborn. I thought, wow, because Tom graduated, back in 2007. So that much time has passed, and yet the information is still bleeding through that he shared, on his journey. Just amazing. He said to me, there is no time, which is what a lot of NDE people talk about. There is no time. We sort of invented that so we could manage what we do here, I suppose. There's no space. When there's only God, the distance from here and there is like the distance between your heart and your liver, and yet it's in one body. Okay, so there is no space, there is no time. And he said there are multiple universes, an infinite amount. He said when you leave here, you come here to learn about love and creativity against a backdrop of greed and ego. But when you graduate from here, nobody leaves here until their work is done. I don't care if they're a second old or they're 105. When you have finished what you came here to learn, that's when you graduate. And you have the life review and all that other stuff we've already talked about. But he said to me at that one night, he said, there's no time, there's no space. He said, Dan, there's an infinite amount of universes out there. And so there are many places that you can go to in another incarnation or whatever form you're going to go in. Incarnation means carne meaning flesh. So when you reincarnate, you come back into a flesh body. Well, you don't always have a flesh body. Mostly not, probably. So the concept of reincarnation is only that everything dies and is being reborn forever and ever and ever, and evolves at the same time. And we're all a part of that. So get over yourself. Oh, God. In Scripture, it says somewhere, I should know this, but I don't remember, in my Father's house are many mansions. Right? Right. I go there to prepare a place for you, that where I am, you may be also, or something like that. Well, I remember that when he said to me, there are an infinite amount of places that you can go to. In other words, in my Father's house, universe, are many places. And the energy of unconditional love holds the whole thing together. The energy that is part of all of creation is unconditional love. The scientists will describe it as a subatomic particle or whatever it is. Well, if you go into the nucleus of something and into the part of the nucleus, whatever, what you get from Tom Sawyer's point of view is unconditional love. He said to me one time, he said, there are only 3 or 4 people or beings who could go into a black hole and come out again. And he said, one is God, one is Jesus Christ, one is himself, and one was St. Francis. I've learned over the many, many years that whatever he taught was true. If I didn't know it was true then, I find out that it's true later, or it alludes to the truth. So it'll be interesting when I go home again that I get to have the life review and all that. I'm sure they're going to sell popcorn and stuff when I go over, God. But I've already talked to the boss and I said, look, I have no problem with coming home. Although I've screamed twice, no, I'm not coming, But I said, I'm coming right back. There's too much work to be done. I don't want to miss anything, So I know it's God's choice and not mine. But that's my preference, Now, about the ordinations into the order of Melchizedek, Tom said to me, before you die, before you graduate in this lifetime, you'll have a dream or vision, whether you take this with you or you pass it on to somebody else. And so far, I'm still here. And he showed me a dream recently where I found a pear. You remember the old refrigerators that used to build all the ice inside? Remember those? If you didn't clean it properly or whatever. Well, he showed me this ice box and I opened it and there was fruit in there, but it was surrounded in ice. But I took the pear and I took it out and I bit into it. Now, you and I both know if there's a pear in the refrigerator, in the freezer, it's going to be like a brick. It was supple and sweet. It was wonderful. I woke up that morning and Spirit said, go on the computer and find out what the symbol of a pear means. Well, first of all, the shape of it is feminine, for one, goddess, that sort of thing. But it represented prosperity, wisdom, age, all those, and it's a universal symbol. It's not just something that showed up in a dream. It's in all cultures globally. So the symbol of a pear is like that. So just to be on the safe side, I went to the grocery store and bought 6 of them. and all that good stuff. I suppose in kind of wrapping this up in a way, the most important thing that you have to think about, perhaps today, if you choose to, there is no death. Death does not exist. You cannot destroy energy. Albert Einstein taught us that much, So you transform. Right now you're in a physical mammalian body. Tom used to say these are puny mammalian bodies that you're sitting in. But when you graduate, you still have and this is kind of fun. I'm looking forward to this part. When you graduate, when you pass over, what happens is there's no age. Everyone's about 35, or that's how they look, There were no false teeth or no glasses. I'm looking forward to this, And you have this life review, and then you go on. And then I asked Tom one question once. I hardly ever asked him any questions. I said, Tom, how much time should you take in between your incarnations? And he said, well, you could come back tomorrow. I wouldn't advise it, because you've got to evaluate all that you did in that last incarnation, which is the result of all of yours up to that point. But he said, you could come back, But he said, I suppose about 200 years your time, whatever that is. So Buddha said, you have to be born, you have to live a while, you have to get sick, you have to die. Tom Sawyer's taught us, you have to be born, you have to live a while, you have to die. I like his version a little better. Certainly as I get to this point in the journey here. But I was hoping to convey to you the importance of self-love. There is no death. No matter what happens in the next year or two, no matter what happens, you will not die. You may not be able to stay in your physical form, but you will not disperse. There's only eternal ever. And everything is about balance and harmony. And everything is about love. So I suppose, in the time I've been here, which is 81 years, practically, the most important thing to have learned and share from all the people I've met, and I've met all kinds of people around the world, it comes down to love, self-love, and love that you share with others, like you did earlier this morning with shaking hands and hugging and that kind of thing. Always remember, everything is God. So whether they're stone people or tree people or pets or whatever's going on, microbes, whatever, it's all made of perfection. It's all made of God. And that's yours. And you're living in a castle. This is your life. This is your body. You can love yourself or not, but God will only love you. Oh, thank you. See, I hear little people talking to me sometimes. I know they're going to lock me up, I swear. Tom was teaching one night, and he said, Dan, there are only 2 beings in creation who can give you unconditional love. And I'm thinking, we didn't have cell phones then. We didn't have ATM or any of that kind of stuff. And I'm thinking, who are these people? I want to get to know who they are, He said, God is one. You're the other for yourself. Now, 50% of the battle's won. That's God's part. Why are you holding out? You're holding out because you believe that somebody said you weren't worthy, you weren't good enough, da-da-da-da-da-da. One of the near-death people, she was a beautiful woman, but her whole life she believed she was ugly. And when she had her life review, she realized what people really thought about her, and that's not what she thought. But God said, I gave you patience, I gave you beauty, and now I give you compassion. Now go back and go to work. So we have a lot to do in the next several years to help our sisters and brothers and everybody else and everything else to survive the great transformation. Oh God, the good news is this. Beyond the great transformation, and there's a lot of stuff we're going to go through, is something called the peaceable kingdom. And the peaceable kingdom means that we will be one and be aware of being one, all with one another, with all the other species. And Tom said we'll have the ability to communicate telepathically. You won't have to sit and listen to this, and that love will abound. But until then, there's a lot we have to go through. And if you're here to serve, and if you have been ordained and you are, that's what we're here to do. And it doesn't matter what you do, but that you do, So later today, we're having a short workshop about the order of Melchizedek and about Melchizedek and things that you might have experienced before you come to today. And then at the end of that, we'll have ordination ceremonies, which take, 4 minutes maybe per person. But what my responsibility is to breathe fire to the top of your head, to the base of your spine, and ignite your spiritual reality, Kundalini. And so that when that goes up through all your chakras and reaches you're on your way to becoming a little Buddha. Now, if you're sitting here thinking, not me, I'm not going to be a Buddha, well, then you won't. But if you can accept the fact that you're on your way to Buddhahood, One of you spoke to me earlier today during the class, before the class, and shared with me how her life had changed from her ordination. I hear that all the time. So we have all these 17,000 little Buddhas emerging around the planet. Tom said to me, we have priests on every major continent. And if we both died right now, and this was more than 10 years ago, we've done our work. But he said, I don't envy all you have yet to do. You're going to live to be an old man. 81 I thought was kind of old, but I guess it's not. I've had a dream I was like 100 and something. I'm being interviewed by this redheaded journalist. And she said to me, well, Mr. Chesboro, or Reverend Dan, whatever people call me. She said, how does it feel to be so old? I said, well, the best part of it is I'm toward the end of the book rather than the beginning. But my mind was clear. The rest of me wasn't doing so well, I suppose. I don't know. But none of that matters. None of that matters. You have a choice to love yourself as God does. And that's the key to unlock happiness and everything for the rest of your life. And when you find that, oh yes, thank you. The way to teach that is to share it. And the way what we share it is a very simple thing. God has given us all free will. And God itself will not violate that sacred trust. So when you have an opportunity to teach somebody or to share or whatever, all you simply have to say is, may I share with you what I know? May I offer you my Reiki? May I share with you my, if they say no, forget it. There's a few billion people on this planet. But if they say yes, those who have ears will now hear. Those who have eyes can now see, But you plant that little seed, and then that's it. These 4 packages were seeds for these people to do whatever they do in their domain. And that's been done. Whatever happens, happens. So if you want to know what happened to Oprah, go to our website and watch that podcast. And the rest of that. I am so literally delighted to be here because, whatever. But that you've chosen to be here today. And so if any of you are coming later today, that's lovely. So thank you, Don. I did see the purple light, but I didn't shut up. That's why, you're going to have a gong or something for me. Yeah. But thank you so much, all of you, for coming today and for sharing.
How about a big thank you to Reverend Dan Chesboro. And Dan, tell us your website one more time, please, for people who are interested in information.
DanielChesbro.com. CHESB as in brother, RO.com. And that'll get you to our website, and then all the other stuff is there. I've been traveling doing this for now 40 years or more, and I don't know why I forgot to bring some papers with me and photographs of the light when people got ordained, how the light showed up. I thought, oh my God. So I woke up this morning and I thought, well, so those of you who are getting ordained, I'll send that to you, but what we're going to do is put it on our website. So you can actually see that God got itself photographed while we were doing ordinations. These balls of white light show up, or these big auras. It's a lot of fun. So sorry about that, Don.
No, that's really terrific. So just a follow-up thing. You said that we are here in this lifetime to learn about love against a backdrop of, could you say that, please?
Greed and ego.
Wow. Doesn't that just describe it right there? But
Yeah.
we're all empowered. We're all able to do our part.
You are. You're made of God, so you've got that ability. Yeah.
Even me?
Even you, Don.
Wow. Those that know me closely, they go, really? But all of us are. Yes, we are. All of
Yeah.
us in our humanity against that backdrop of greed and
Ego.
ego. Yeah.
Have you seen any of that lately?
A little bit.
A little bit here and there.
Me too, unfortunately.
Yeah, we're here to learn
right.
about love and creativity against that backdrop. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. What a great gift. What a great word for us all to hear today. So thank you so much, Reverend Dan.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's terrific. Okay, now it is time for our offering. We are a Somebody want to like break? Okay, terrific. We are a volunteer organization. We keep the lights on and the doors open so we can provide this kind of inspirational message and all the things we do here during the week based upon your kind and generous donations, so we would appreciate that. You can donate online at lakeharrietspiritualcommunity.org, where you'll also find our meetup calendar of events, and there is I believe, a Venmo QR code in the basket. So thank you.
You say you want love, joy and peace too, but you run and hide when they come calling on you. You say you're tired of suffering, you just want a better life. But when the truth comes to set you free, you stay shackled to the lies. I don't know if you're ready to lay your burdens down. Don't be so afraid, lay them all down. I hope you understand.
Thank you so much. If you please raise your hands and repeat after me. God's perfect love, flowing through me, blesses and multiplies all that I give, all that I receive, and all that I am. Aho. Thank you, everyone. Well, in a moment, we're going to have our closing circle with Reverend Dan. And we just want to remind you you're special. You're here for a reason. And we invite you back this week to enjoy and participate in some of the wonderful things that we do here as a community. And God bless you and God bless your week. So if we can gather together, please, for our closing circle. And Dan, would you like to sit here in this chair?
I would, thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
so if our circle can include wrapping up here, maybe it's terrific. And Reverend Dan will be here for a while after the service if you have questions, want to chat with him.
Okay. Do I get to do this part?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Great. Just imagine our ability to hold hands with everybody on the planet. We're all family. We know that through DNA, et cetera, et cetera. So this is a small microcosm of the greater reality. Okay? So may that which is God, Creator being, Mother, Father, bless us and keep us, and make the light of consciousness shine about us and through us and for us. Lift up your heart and bring you peace now and forevermore. Amen.